In this video, I will go over common mistakes that I saw my students do in using Python classes. Assume that the Dutch programmer created a class called bar customer. He sends the class to the American in a file called bar customer underline module.py. So this class have two attributes, name and age, and it has one instance method called allowed to drink, which doesn't receive any inputs, any arguments. It uses the attributes age. It compares that with 18. If it's higher than 18, then it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. So how can the American use this module? First thing is that the American needs to add this file next to the file that she wants to use. So as explained in the previous videos, the American needs to use the from um, state from keyword uh, and the name of the file, and then import the name of the class to be able to use the class. After that, the American use uh, the name of the class, which is in reality the name of the Donder init method to create two instances of class. For example, C1 and C2. You see that C1 is Amin, he is 40 years old, and C2 is Peter, and he is 16 years old. Now, the American can use the method in the class allowed to drink to check what to serve this client, this customer. So C1.allow to drink, you see that it allow to drink does not get any inputs, any arguments, because we already have the age of the customer inside C1 as an attribute. So we know that C1.age is 40. So allow to drink will compare the age of C1 40 with the with 18, so it's higher than, it's greater than 18, so it returns true. So that means that the uh, program needs to print give C1 not name, the name of C1 is Amin, give Amin an alcoholic drink. Otherwise, if we use C2 here instead of C1, so the allowed to drink will have access to the age of C2 this time, which is 16. It compares 16 with 18. It's lower, so the else part should be executed. Print give C2.name, which is Peter, a non-alcoholic drink. So you can see that these instance methods can have no arguments and still use the attributes to work with to calculate and do what the front-end programmer wants. Of course, the American can also use a class to answer a uh, user's call as well. So in this case, you can see that an input is given by the user and stored. The name is given by the user and is stored in n. Then the age is given by the user, turned into an integer and stored in a. And then the American use these two values to create a new instance of customer, which is C3. So in this case, if C3 allowed to drink, A given by the user is checked against 18 to check whether an alcoholic drink should be served or a non-alcoholic drink should be served. So what is great about this? The great thing is that if the age 18 is changed, if the drinking age is changed to 21, then this code by the American does not need to be changed at all. You see, there's no 18 here. Only the Dutch programmer needs to change that 18 to 21 and send a new file to the American code, but the American code can be intact. Of course, you can also just use the import the name of the file and then before each customer, before each bar customer, before each class name, you also need to use the name of the module. What are the common mistakes? How not to use a class? So I have seen that the students use the name of the class in the import, phrase. So whenever you have import and you don't have from import, after import, you need to provide the name of the file, not the name of the class. Or they call the instance method using the name of the class rather than the name of the instance of the class, C1, C2, C3. So here, bar customer is wrong to be put here, and because when you use allow to drink requires an attribute. But what is the value of that attribute, age here? If you have a bar customer, a class that doesn't have any values, it's just a map, it's a blueprint. It doesn't have any state at this stage. Another issue in using classes is that the students wrongly provide the name or the age or both of them as for the inputs. Why we know that the Dutch programmer developed the code in a way that it doesn't require any arguments, and Amin and 18 are or Amin and 40 are already stored inside C1. So there's no need for this kind of inputs. The other issue is using brackets, parentheses after the name of after the attribute name. You know that you have a self.name inside the donder int, so and it's stored as an attribute. You cannot use parentheses because Python will look for an instance method called name. It doesn't find it and it returns an error. The other issue is that some students try to assign a value to a method. So allow to drink is a method, an instance method. It always requires parentheses right after the name of the instance method. It's instance method, and you cannot, assign a value to a method. You can do that, but it causes a lot of issues. In the next video, I will go over special method of donder str in Python classes.